Hey, how are we all doing today? So this is my third video. I said I was going to talk a little bit about myself, which is what I'm going to do here tonight. So I was born in March in Red Wing. I'm 31 years old. I have done school a few different times when it comes to college. I went to RCTC, didn't really like it, tried doing my generals, but basically that was just an excuse to drink, considering the main classes that I took were archery, strength training, American cinema, things that actually have no use for me or anybody really when it comes to a college degree. But I was in school and I had freedom and I was able to party. When it comes to my drinking when I was younger, I always thought that I pretty much fit in with everybody else. But the more I look back now, the more I realize I did not fit in. I was out of control even then. Not quite to the point that I was when I had quit drinking here recently, but it was either way out of control. I had plenty of run ins with the police, lots of underage drinking tickets. I would make people mad. I would be in fights, all kinds of stupid things like that. Um, but when I was younger, I pretty much thought I was untouchable. I got a decent amount of money when I turned 18 from a life insurance policy. I got other money from my dad's retirement because my dad passed when I was 12 years old. Um, Later on in life, as I continued to drink, the worst things got. I started getting DWIs. I had four of them by the time I was 23 years old. I was actually looking at prison time for that fourth one. They were trying to give me 36 months. Thank God that didn't pan out like I thought it was going to. It could have been a really bad situation, but I personally found God, and I believe that He got me through that. I'm not telling anybody that they have to be religious in any way. It does help me, and it did help me in the past with staying sober. Was um, having that Christian base, the community, the people. Generally, when you get into church groups or church families, a lot of them do not partake in drinking um, as much as people that are not in some kind of organization like that. So I found that very helpful. When I got that fourth DWI, I was sober for 2 years. The first year was really tough to get sober. I'll be honest with you. It took a lot of willpower, but also what really helped me was the first few months getting off. I had to wear an alcohol bracelet on my leg that read my skin for alcohol. If I failed that, automatically I would go to jail. So that was a pretty good incentive to stay sober. There was plenty of times that I didn't think that was going to work because I wanted to drink so bad that it didn't matter. I just figured the heck with it. If I go to jail, I go to jail. But somehow I made it through and I didn't drink. Um, but back to that year, it took basically a year before the urges really subsided. And I did very well for the following year. So that was 2 years sober. I was around people that drank, didn't bother me. Um, Finally, there was one night I had people over. We were barbecuing. I gave in to peer pressure. People said, "Hey, it's been 2 years. You should be able to handle it now. I mean, what's it gonna hurt?" Well, I had one beer and I was back on that train. Within an hour, I took off, took a cab down to the bars, stayed out all night, ran around like a chicken with his head cut off, just going crazy. Next morning, felt terrible, apologized to everybody, said I'd never do it again. And within 3 weeks, I was drinking again to, well, eventually got to the point where it was every week or every other day. It didn't take very long for me to get back pretty much to where I was before, but I also realized that um, I would drink a lot more and get a lot more messed up. Um, it, I wanted that high, but I couldn't control it where I would stop. Uh, I guess I never really could stop, but I would drink and drink and drink a lot faster to get that high, which would in turn become blackout drunk, and things would just get worse. Tried controlling it, didn't really work. Tried quitting numerous times, did not work. I've been to treatment 4 times since I've been 18 years old, inpatient, and they never worked for me. I would do the 30 days, get out, say, okay, this is great. I'll be sober now. I'll try to do the steps, but when it came down to it, 30 days was just not enough for me. And plus, deep down inside, I don't know if I was truly ready to drink. I had a hard time seeing myself without alcohol. The funny thing is that I always look at now is, how come, you tell someone I don't do drugs and it's a good thing, but if you tell someone you don't drink, they look at you like you're nuts. Like, why do you not drink? You must have a problem. And believe it or not, there's a lot of people that don't drink, and they do have a problem, and you would think that people would congratulate you for doing the right thing, but it seems like they always look at you like you're kind of an outcast, and that's always bothered me. I'm doing a lot better with it now. I think it's because I'm older, and I've actually really looked back at how hurtful and destructive drinking has done to me in my life. It's done a big toll on my family, my friends. I don't have a lot of friends left because I've scared most of them off because they just can't trust whether or not I'm going to be sober or not. And family is kind of the same way. A lot of them prefer not to be around me. They all tell me if I'm sober, I'm great, but if I'm drinking, they run for the hills like I'm the plague. And I honestly cannot blame them. I feel really bad about it, but alcohol always had that grasp on my life. It had a hold on me. I'd go out, I'd get completely hammered, shit-faced, not know what's going on, piss people off, get in fights, get arrested. Next morning, you wake up, I'm never doing that again. I feel like shit. I felt terrible. Like, I can't believe I just did what I did. It seems like everything would just hit me, and I'd reflect on the whole night and how much of a piece of shit I really was. And I truly meant it. I believed the next day that I wasn't going to drink again. But within a day or two, that urge would kick in so strongly that resisting it was almost impossible. Basically was impossible for me. I would get booze, and I remember I would sit there and I'd hold it and spin it in my hand and smell it and just think, you don't need to do this, but in the same time, it was almost like having an angel and a devil on my shoulder telling me, you don't do it, and then you do it. And the devil always won. And as soon as that first sip went back, that was it. The night was over. I was going to drink and drink and drink until I was blacked out. I didn't care about anybody else's feelings. I didn't care what anybody else thought. All I cared about was getting that high and that drunk. And I screwed up a lot of things from that. I've had great jobs. I've had great relationships. And I've lost a lot of them due to alcohol. Alcohol was basically it was my life. It was almost like a spouse to me. I remember one time I used this as a comparison, which is, it's inappropriate. I get it, it's inappropriate, but I looked at alcohol almost like a male buck in rut would look at a female doe. I wanted it so badly, I would do anything to get it. It's very sick when you think about it. It's a disease. I've always had a hard time accepting that because I feel like you can overpower almost anything, but the more and more I realize things, the more I realize that it truly is a disease. And dealing with it is very hard to get through, but I know in time, if you work the steps, if you talk to people, if you're open about it, and accept the fact that it is a disease, it can be fixed, and you can turn things around. I've been sober for a month now, and I've been doing it on my own, a lot with family, but I'm looking at possibly getting into an outpatient treatment program just to keep me going. I think I really need the encouragement, and I need the community of other people that are struggling through this, trying to get sober. I've never really done an outpatient before, but I think it'll be beneficial for me. So I'm going to give that a go for the most likely. Other than that, I don't have a lot more that I'd like to share tonight that I can think of, but I'm going to try to get more things together, talk about it. I'd like to talk about urges. I know last time I was on the video, I said I was going to talk about hiding things, but I did not get around to that today. But I definitely will in my next video. Also, just so you know, I do this, I just wing it. I don't write things down, I just go with it. Here it is, and that's probably why it doesn't sound like I'm on a script or anything. So if you have any questions or anything you'd like to share, please share it in your comments below. I ask that you please subscribe to my channel, like my channel. I want to get this off. I want this to be a place that can help people. I have other things in store where I want to actually sit down with other people that have had problems and have a year sobriety, 5-year sobriety, 10-year sobriety, even 30. I actually spoke to a woman yesterday, and her husband's been sober for 27 years, and I thought that was absolutely incredible to hear his story. And I think it'd be great for other people to hear it as well that are going through this. Once again, thanks again for watching this. Like it, and I will be uploading another video shortly. Have a good night.